Welcome to the Church Security Answer Man video blog, where it's all about ministry safety, security, and making a difference for people. And now, your host, a former law enforcement officer, criminal justice trainer, and security expert, Captain Joe Puckett.
Well, hello everyone. Thanks for joining me. This is the Church Security Answer Man. I am so happy that you're joining me today for some great discussions about church security issues. And I'm so glad no matter where you're at right now. I know some of you may be listening on one of the 10 audio podcast platforms that we're on, or you're watching us on YouTube or on our website at churchsecurityanswerman.com. Wherever you're at, whatever you're doing, I am glad that you're with us today. This is a great community for discussion. I've had folks sending me information. In fact, this discussion today came from suggestion from two of our viewers that sent me a note and told me to go take a look at this video. So I always appreciate that kind of feedback and information from you. So, and I want to remind us, this discussion doesn't have to do with your denomination. It doesn't have to do with how big or how small your church is. This has to do with protecting our people and our property and our ministry. And that's what it's all about, is those kinds of discussions. We also want to be reminded that we have a sponsor today, the Church Security University. And I recommend you go over there to the churchsecurityuniversitymembership.com and see the great things that we've put together for you over there. Myself and Bill Stumpf have put things on there and organized a platform for you that has things that you need for your church security team and your church security program, from report forms to training for your people, little short 1 hour and half-hour training segments with a certificate that you could then print off. Very inexpensive, and all kinds of other things that they have over there for you. So I encourage you to go over and explore it just a little bit at churchsecurityuniversitymembership.com. Now let's talk about what we've got going on today. Let's talk about the possibility of riots or protesters. Right now we've got all kinds of violent stuff going on in our communities, and we see a little bit of that come against the church, but we see it at other times come against the church. And I'm not saying that you have to be a riot squad. I'm not saying that at all. But I am going to throw out a couple of things if you find yourself placed in that position, and sometimes the emotion of the moment can draw us into that, and I want to make a couple of points. And that's based on some stuff that just happened a couple of weeks ago in the city of Troy, New York, a small church there. They're an outgoing church. They're a bold church. If you go over and take a look at their website and stuff, they do some bold things in the community. And so, but they ended up with some protesters and what I would call rioters at their church. And I'm not going to get into the politics and that kind of stuff of what I support and what I don't support and that kind of thing. What I want to focus on is how it affected this church, what I saw that happened in the videos, and just how it's relative to you. I'm just here to support you and have some discussions for you. And some of you right now might be saying, that would never happen at our church. And you're probably right. It might not ever happen, especially some of you where you're located, your small church way out somewhere, probably will never happen. But I want to throw it out there, and I hope that some of you will have that discussion with your team anyway, because it has some other principles involved in this that we continue to talk about and underline in the things that we discuss. So we've talked certainly about for years about violent people coming into our church. We got to all be prepared for that. And here now we have a group of people that come against us, and they're borderline violent. There's some pushing and shoving and that kind of thing that goes on, and really right on the edge of becoming worse. There was some description in the news reports that the pastor was assaulted. And what I see was he was pushed, which is a form of assault in many areas, regions, depending on the law and that kind of thing. So, and originally I was going to play the clip for you and let you hear it if you're listening on audio, and let you see it if you're watching us on video. But there is a lot of foulness in the video, a lot of foul words, a lot of strong language. And so it would have either had lots of foul in it, or would have had lots of beeps in it if I would have edited that stuff out. So I want to give you the option to go look at it. I'm going to talk about it, and certainly go look it up by the church, the church riot in Troy, New York. And it happened the first week of July. So you can take a look at that, July 2020, in case you're watching this or listening way in the future. So go take a look at it if you want to see that stuff. So let's talk about the outside of stuff that went on outside, some of my opinions, and then we'll talk about some of the stuff that went on inside. It basically, in the video, there appears to be maybe 50 or so people that are on the protester or rioter side. They're kind of half of them or a bunch of them are really up close to the church. Others are in the street, and then it appears like some people might just be onlookers and videotaping and that kind of thing. So basically what happens, these folks are showing up, protesting, rioting, whatever you want to call it, and all of a sudden some folks come out of the church. They're dressed very well. They seem to be like church security folks to me, or taking that position. And they stand at the bottom of the stairs of their church, the entrance to their church. They go down to the bottom, right at the sidewalk, and they begin to form what in law enforcement we'd call a scrimmage line, if we're dealing with rioters and that kind of stuff. And they form a line at the base of the steps. And they're letting some people in. Sadly, one lady comes in with her very small kids. She's holding one infant, two other very small kids, and these folks are yelling in megaphones, just some stuff that's just not appropriate to me. And they're, yelling like we're going to call Children's Protective Services, and because you're letting your kids go into this place, and just kind of some really nasty stuff. So those megaphones come out. They're also shoving them right in the faces. I mean, literally inches apart between the megaphone and the face of these what we'll call church security folks. And they're yelling right into their faces, right into their ears. And I know that causes an irritation. I've been in similar situations just a couple of times in my law enforcement career. Very minimal situations, but I know that stuff is irritating to you. So those folks are appearing. They create a scrimmage line, which is great if that's the approach you're going to take. We're going to talk about, we always want to remember that when this kind of stuff, when violence comes to us or we have these kind of issues, there's typically about 3 approaches to it. And this is one: form a line. And I call it a scrimmage line for rioters, that kind of stuff. So, certainly if you can call law enforcement, get the law enforcement folks there. But they've formed a line. They're waiting for the police, I'm assuming, because we do see the police show up and begin to handle the situation once it moves inside. So I do want to say, if you do those things mentally, like you form a scrimmage line or you form a line in front of the door to your church or you're protecting something, you got to have a mindset that you're going to be verbally abused and maybe physically abused, just like these guys were that came out of the church to protect it. These folks are yelling at them, they're pushing. I didn't see any spitting or those kind of things, but you could expect that they might even spit and those kind of things on you. So, you got to be prepared to take this abuse if you're going to form that line. And so again, if we can't get the cops there, you're going to form this line. I want to add to this: we're not cops. So all you're doing is protecting your church. What I see in this video is I see a couple of the folks forming the line, which I'll call church security or church leadership folks. I see them form this line, and it's pretty tough, and the yelling and the megaphones and pushing and shoving. And pretty soon it appears to me, I wasn't there, but I'm looking at the video, it appears to me that a couple of them lose their cool and go out into the crowd. And that is a very bad thing. We don't want to go out in the crowd. Now, if we're trying to get one of our parishioners or we're getting one of our members, trying to help them come into the crowd, hopefully those folks would stop and go back home or go around back or something. But we don't want to be going out into the crowd if we don't have to. Especially, we don't want to lose our cool and go out into the crowd. That's a very bad thing. We're softening the line. We're not holding the line. We're letting our teammates down because we've now left our position in the line. And now we're creating a hazard by going out into these folks, because then we could be in trouble, and now our teammates got to try to come and rescue you. So you don't want to get upset. You want to be prepared mentally if you're going to do something like this. And I don't necessarily recommend that we do this. I'm hoping we get the cops there or we take another alternative. But if you decide to do this for whatever reason, you got to be ready to take some abuse and hold your line. Defend yourself, hold the line. Retreat is an option, but attacking, we're not cops. We don't go out and arrest people and attack people and grapple with people. We don't do that for any reason outside that line when we're talking about rioters or protesters. We're not going out into the crowd to get a hold of somebody that's on the opposing side. So that's just not within any laws that I'm familiar with, and it's not safe is the biggest reason. So I want to encourage you to talk about this possibility. That's why I'm airing this today. I don't really expect you to become trained as a riot squad or a mobile response team. That's not what that's what I'm looking at today. But I want you to talk about it as a team and talk about it with your leaders to even say, are we even going to form a defense line if this kind of stuff comes up, or are we just going to retreat? And that's the important thing, is talking about this ahead of time. What are we going to do if this happens? I'm always saying that in my videos, and that's what I want for you, is to have this discussion, because it's a little more real today that we might have this possibility. Things move inside. A couple of cops do show up, and they're doing their job to control things a bit. There's still a lot of verbal and some pushing that goes on. I believe the pastor gets pushed in this during this confrontation inside, and there's some pushing and shoving, and definitely some yelling and some not so nice conversation that's going on. So, so in these difficult situations like this, I covered a couple little points about this scrimmage line kind of thing, but I also want to talk about what our options, and it always are, when it comes to violence or these kind of difficult situations. The first one is what many of us are going to do in many different situations. Call 911 and deal with the situation until the police arrive. Many of us are going to do that, take that approach for violent people that enter, problem people, service disruptors, protesters. That's the kind of stuff we're going to do. Call 911, and then we're going to figure out a way to deal with it. And that's a good option. Then there's option number 2, is have your congregation leave. Whatever the situation is, make an announcement. Everybody out the back door, everybody into the side room, into the hallway, go into the other room down the way. Let's get people out of the auditorium. Let's get people out of harm's way. In this case, we might have been just as good to send a couple of our folks, hopefully teams, instead of trying to maybe set up a perimeter, or if we had enough folks, send a couple people down to tell people coming down the sidewalks to come to church that they need to go around back, or they probably should go back home, because down the sidewalk in front of the church, if you keep going, it's pretty violent down there right now. It's pretty difficult. And so maybe go and tell them. Our church and many churches I know have a text system as well, where they can send out a text blast to everybody's cell phone. Get people, throughout the year, work on getting people to sign up for that system. And so you could send out a text blast real quick. Somebody could go inside and send out a text blast that said, don't come to church today, or church is delayed, or whatever you want to do, so that many people get the notice to just stay away today because we're having issues, that kind of thing. So the second option, again, is send the congregation away, keep the congregation from showing up, send them out a back door. And once your members leave, let's think about it. If we can't necessarily control the problem, and this could be a violent person or protesters or rioters, whatever you want to call them, soon as our congregation leaves, we don't have as serious of a problem. We have property issues, but that's not as serious as people's safety. And then if you leave, that's another option. And that's my third option, is everybody, including you, leaves, including your security team. Just everybody retreats. And that keeps everybody out of harm's way. And I do know, here's the deal, and I do know some of you say, no, I want to protect the property. And I agree. I understand that. But, is the property insured? Can it be replaced? Absolutely. And hopefully you do have insurance on your property and your stuff in your church. And so let's just all retreat. If this is a little bit overwhelming for our security team, the police aren't showing up. We're seeing that in some areas of the nation right now where police are overwhelmed and police have been verbally abused and attacked, and they're not responding quite as quickly, or they just have so much going on that they're not able to respond. In those situations, why not take that third option? And if your stuff gets damaged, ruined, can it be replaced? You can't be replaced. Your people can't be replaced. Get everybody out of there. And I like that option. That option's a good one. Everybody out the back door, including the security team. Security team stays till last, make sure everybody gets into their cars or gets rides home. And then the security team is out back also, and then the security team leaves. So, the most important thing, though, in all of this, I'm giving you opinions. I'm not giving you legal advice. I'm not telling you have to do this. But here's what I am telling you is I would have a quick discussion about it. Bring it up to your team this next week when you get together. You just have to have a 2-minute discussion. What are we going to do? And if your option is you're going to go out and form a line, a scrimmage line, we might call it, then we're going to hold that line until the police get here. We're not going to go out into the crowd and grab somebody. We're not going to get frustrated. We're not going to get angry and go out and do that kind of stuff. We're going to hold our line, or we're going to retreat. One of those two options. So that everybody's safe as possible. And again, the preference is let's just abandon ship might be an option for you. And I don't think that's a bad one. We want our people to be safe. And once your people are safe and left and gone, or you have notified them so they don't show up, you and I really don't have a major task other than protecting those people and protecting ourselves. Property is not as important. We talk about protecting our property where we can. We certainly want to do that, but sometimes it may be overwhelming to where something's going to happen to you or your team kind of thing. So I want to make sure and discuss those options with you. I'm throwing out opinions based on my law enforcement experience, my church security experience, and I want you to just mess with those, talk about it, and it's okay to disagree with me and choose other options. Just have the conversation this week or the coming weeks, because this is not only for the current difficult times that we're going through, and there's some pretty difficult ones, but it really could be other times. Because you choose a certain opinion on another community issue, you could end up with protesters. So it's great to have a quick discussion about it and maybe ask your leaders what we need to do as well. So that's it for this edition of the Church Security Answer Man. Thank you for joining me. We've got information for you all day, every day at churchsecurityanswerman.com. Go over and check out the page that helps support our processes here and our mission here at the Church Security University membership.com. And then I really would appreciate it if you would like the page, subscribe down below if you're on YouTube, or give us a comment if you're on iTunes, or if you're on somewhere else, some other audio platform or podcast. Give us a quick comment, and that helps us, our signal, get stronger and get broadcast to more folks as we get more of that information. So thanks for joining us this week. I hope you have a safe and secure week.
Thanks for watching the Church Security Answer Man video blog. Get more by joining us anytime at churchsecurityanswerman.com.